Well, to take the latter part of your question first, I think it's very important to understand what we mean when we say apply. Of course, Muslims apply the Sharia, which is literally the easy or beaten path to sort of success. It literally comes from the word shariah, and the Sharia was said to be the beaten path to a water hole in the Arabian desert. That is to say that if you are thirsty, and people in the desert are often thirsty for obvious reasons, and you want to be successful in making your way to a source of water, then this is the path that you should follow. By analogy, if you are interested in your welfare in the life to come, and you want to be sure that you make it there in a status that you would want to be in, that is, you go to paradise or heaven as opposed to going to hell, then this is the path that one should follow in order to make it to paradise. Now, Muslims, of course, apply the Sharia in their own personal lives every day. A Muslim wakes up, and one of the first things he does in the morning is to pray. Well, that's the application of Sharia. The month of Ramadan comes around, the Muslim applies the rules for fasting to himself. That's an application of the Sharia. With regard to the civil laws or criminal laws, well, that would require that Muslims become a majority within the society, either politically or numerically. But other than that, there is no obligation on Muslims to apply Islamic law to non-Muslims. In fact, even within an Islamic state, non-Muslims would reserve their right to practice their religion as dictated by their own religion. They would only be subject to certain public laws that the community at large would share in common. Well, Sharia would be Islamic law and more. Sharia is the what one might call the net result of Muslim attempts to understand the basic sources of Islam, namely the Qur'an and what is known as the Sunnah, or the teachings of the Prophet beside the Qur'an. In other words, the Prophet received this revelation, that is the Qur'an, and in addition to that, he added his own commentary, and he applied what was in the Qur'an in certain ways so as to instruct the Muslims as to how that particular passage should be understood. After the Prophet's death, this process of attempting to understand what God had said in the Qur'an, what the Prophet had taught through his teachings of the Sunnah, in terms of how these should be applied to their lives. And the Sharia is the cumulative result of that process of seeking to understand God's will as revealed in the Qur'an and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad.